In this episode, we'll be talking all about ableism and discrimination in society. In particular, we'll be discussing fake claiming and the harm that has on the disabled community. We'll also discuss other things that we've seen on social media recently, some good stuff and some bad stuff. Hello and welcome back to Ramped Up. This is episode 6 of series 2, and we have content. This is one of those episodes where we don't exactly know what we'll be talking about until we've done the episode. So it might be that we redo this and show completely, and you might not even hear this bit. If you do hear this bit, hello. Hopefully you join us all the way through to the end. My name is George Sprouse.
My name is Julia Shannon.
And I'm Lexi Bushnell.
We have a couple of things that we've seen on social media this week, and over the past few weeks. And so we just want to share that pretty much. I think let's just get right into it.
Yep. So it kind of all started with you sending us a clip from Twitter about a guide dog. What's the difference? Does anyone know? Guide dog, service dog, what's the difference?
I guess guide dogs are more associated with people who are blind.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I believe it was a guide dog.
Service dog.
What's that, Lexi? Sorry?
No, I'd say service dogs do pretty much everything else. I would that a guide dog is a dog, but not all service dogs are guide dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was about a guide dog whose name was Barney, who was on a British Airways flight, and basically was the crew announced that he was going on retirement.
I wondered if I could take a few moments of your time to tell you about one of our most loved passengers who is flying with us today. Many of you may have seen him in the departure area, and that is Barney the guide dog. He has been a loyal customer with British Airways and has done over 10,000 miles with us. And today, very sadly, is his last flight as he's going to retire. So on behalf of everybody at BA, all the crew who absolutely love and adore Barney, and his owner, Mr. Anderson, we'd like to wish Barney a happy retirement and thank him for all his service. Thank you, Barney. Much love to you.
And from that clip, the owner did mention in the post that British Airways donated £20,000 to train a brand new guide dog for him. So that donation went to Seeing Dogs, which I assume is a training facility or like charity or something.
Guide dogs are insanely expensive to I guess whether or not you're in the UK or you're in America, they are crazy expensive. And I don't know, does insurance cover them? Do we know?
For the UK?
We don't have health insurance here. Well, it's extremely rare.
Yeah. Here's free healthcare.
that good insurance that like where you don't have to worry so much. Yeah.
Yeah, the government funds it all for your taxes-ish. I know that we have a guide dog charity, which is called Guide Dogs.
I looked up the answer for, I guess, us. No insurance covers service animals.
So basically it's out of pocket then?
Yes. Not for the service animal, as well as like the health and maintenance and care of service animal. However, none of us are experts on this. None of us actually know. None of us have a service animal.
But I was
Yeah.
just finding that here in the UK, we have a charity called Guide Dogs, which does mean that they use donations from other people in order to get that guide dogs rather than the blind person having to pay, which is a much better way of doing it.
Yes, I'm sure we
Definitely.
have charities as well. But
Well, they also do a wait. Did you look on Guide Dogs, Joel?
Yeah,
Apparently, they also do a rehoming program as well.
yeah, for dogs who are retired.
Mhm.
But I believe blind people have the option to keep their guide dogs, but that's not always possible for some people.
Yeah. I mean, if you are blind, then you have to have a dog that is able to help you. I don't think keeping a dog that can't help you is really a good idea. But, to each their own.
I mean, they can still have pets, and it's
Yeah,
just like pet. But also, as the dog gets older, all the more expenses get incurred.
Yeah.
So there is a content creator on YouTube, Molly Burke. She's blind. She has a guide dog, and so she vlogged the process of retiring her old guide dog and getting a new guide dog, and she did keep her old guide dog until he passed.
Oh, I
Right.
think I've seen it. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So I'm sure it varies from person to person depending on circumstance.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think there's a mandatory, you have to return this dog to us or anything like that.
Well, if you have an attachment to an animal, it's hard to part with an animal like that. Obviously, depending on what the dog is trained to do. Because
Yeah.
if you have a dog that is supposed to help someone who is blind and help them get around, from point A to point B, that is probably a very hard decision to make, but also a bit more difficult. But if you have someone who has a dog, a service animal that is only there to help pick something up or open doors and things like that, physical.
Physical disabilities.
There you go. It might be a bit easier to keep a service animal once it retires and then get a new one, but obviously to each their own.
Mm.
But no, I do think it's a good thing that British Airways donated that amount of money, because that amount of money was able to fund a fully trained new guide dog for that individual.
We often talk about airports as a community of disabled people and how they are so difficult to navigate as a disabled person, as a blind person, as a wheelchair user, all these different types of disabilities, even for people without physical disabilities like autism and things like that. Airports can be so difficult to deal with. And so it's really nice to see that an airline is like, okay, yeah, we're probably not ideal, but hey, we're going to show you this kindness. They had no obligation to do that, but they did anyway. And I think that's really beautiful.
I just wonder, to what extent does that happen? Because here's the thing: if you can be a traveler who's in a wheelchair, and you can be traveling on that one airline for years and years and years. I wonder to what point does an airline want to support you or support a charity that is to do with a disability that you're associated with?
Mm.
Because let's be honest, we've all, well, me and Joel probably had very bad experiences with air traveling. Like with chairs, they don't care. They really don't care about chairs. I've seen my chair being thrown so many times. It's
That makes
bad.
me wince.
It really hurts when you see it happening because you're like, ow.
Yeah. As a wheelchair user, you do develop, like, it's almost like you develop nerves that go into your wheelchair. Like, rather than into your legs, it goes into your wheelchair. And you can feel it.
Do you know something? The amount of times I've had like people accidentally knock into my chair or like kick my chair by accident, I will involuntarily say, ow.
Yeah.
Like, don't ask me why, because I will not tell you why. It's just something that I've done probably since I had my power chair. My
Yeah.
power chair, I think I just gotten a bit more protective of it, as it is a bit more of an advanced like wheelchair that I've had.
Yeah.
And if that one breaks, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. Like, don't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, and I think also like since I was a child, so I remember in year 2 or 3, so I was about 6 or 7, I think. Yeah, 7 or 8 ish. My best friend would tap my chair trying to catch me out. And I can feel that. Because I had by that age, like you can feel but the vibrations and the sound and different things tell you exactly which bit of a chair is being hit. So I know when someone's touched my chair, both my manual chair and my power chair.
Hmm.
But yeah, as a wheelchair user, you do develop nerves, as it were.
It's like if a person has their leg amputated and they still think, at least that's
You
what
still
I've heard,
feel it.
that they still think the leg is still there, even though they know subconsciously they know that that leg's not there anymore.
Well, they know consciously, but like their
Well,
brain is
yeah,
still
there you
trying
go.
to feel the
Consciously they know that
connections.
it's not there, but subconsciously they think it's still there.
Yeah, they still get pain, phantom limb. Yeah.
They can still move their toes, even though they don't have any toes. They can still wiggle their toes.
Yeah. Or still have that itch, Like they
Yeah.
can't itch. But yeah.
So, in terms of social media, have you guys come across any like creators, content, anything like that to do with service animals?
I actually did a bit of research a couple years ago about service dogs. And one thing I was kind of interested in was, what are service dogs like when they're not working? And I found a video about that, about how once the lady took the vest off and she gave the dog a command, it knew that it was off at work and it was running around, grabbing sticks, just being a happy-go-lucky, playful dog that dogs naturally are. And
Mhm.
as soon as she gave the command, that the dog came back and put on the vest and it was back to work, and it was very interesting. While it was running around, it was playing with this gigantic old branch. You've seen like videos of dogs trying to get this big old branch through the door or something. So that's what he was playing. But as soon as she gave the command, he ignored the branch and he just walked right over it and did his job. So when they are not working and doing their job, they are completely normal dogs and still very much have the time of their life. So it's not like they have a sad, boring life. They don't.
I think that's actually one of the misconceptions about guide dogs, that they are always working and they're working 24/7. That's not true. Dogs still need a break, just like humans.
Sometimes I think they do it involuntarily as well, because like they could be off duty or like not working.
Mm.
But if it's, for example, I've seen online, if it was like a seizure dog, like the owner could be doing, like, in the kitchen doing something, and the dog is like laying on like their dog bed or something.
Mm.
But as soon as they sense something is wrong, they get back on it and be like, right, you need to like get down, please, because you're about to pass out.
Yeah.
So it's not that it's like of duty necessarily, but I think like again, it's trained to do a job, and that dog is aware that it's still responsible to react if something is wrong, which
Yes.
is a very
There's no hours that it works.
Yes.
It doesn't work hours.
It doesn't work out. Unless
Yeah.
it gets paid.
No shift to work.
It gets paid in dog treats.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to cover is I've seen on TikTok some videos, and I will probably, you'll insert a few clips, Joel, maybe once I send them in the chat, of a student in this is in America, an American high school, and she's walking with her service dog through the hallway to get to her next class, I'm assuming, right? And in the video, there is a guy who is trying to get the attention of the dog by like whistling to it, calling it by its name, and all of those kind of things. And the girl was telling him to stop because it's working and it shouldn't be distracted. But again, he's like questioning her, like, why do you need a dog? This, that, and the other. What I think is really bad is people aren't educated that service dogs, especially in public places, are not a regular dog in the sense of you can come up to it and pet it, you can talk to it, this like interact with it. What do you guys think about like people's like lack of education, I guess, around service dogs or guide
Well,
dogs?
I say this. It doesn't matter if it's a service dog or not a service dog. You should never, ever, ever go up and touch a dog that you don't know. Always ask permission from the owner, regardless if it's a service dog or anything. Do not touch a strange dog. That should be rule number one to teach, especially little kids. And that's not even counting the don't touch the service dogs.
There's also been a part of that video where, maybe not that video specifically, but like another video I've seen where someone kicks a service dog. And yeah, I talked to Lexi about this when we weren't recording yesterday. But like, in what world is someone gonna think, you know what I'm gonna do today? I'm going to kick a dog. In what world? Because to me, if I look at it from a disability aid perspective, so a guide dog or a service dog could be seen as the same disability aid, right? Why do people think it's okay to like touch someone's disability aid or kick someone's disability aid? Because like I don't have a guide dog or a service dog, but I do have a wheelchair. The amount of times I have been kicked at as well. Like, why do people think it's appropriate?
Yeah, I've had people trying to trip over my wheelchair. I was like, well, that's not going to go well for you. You're just going to get your foot run over.
Exactly. Or they put their foot right on next to your wheel. And
Yeah.
they assume you're not going to move. But the thing is, as soon as you don't realise that foot is there and you accidentally run it over, is when the big, like, you know,
dare you not know that my foot was behind you?
big cry and sob party happens where they're like, how could you not notice? Like, why don't you look around? I'm like, as a child, when I was younger, yes, that bothered me because I was being accused of something I had no control over.
Mm.
Because I'm a responsible driver. Like, yes, I'm a responsible driver, but the fact that you think it's okay to put your foot there and not think it's
Have
going
any
to get run over.
repercussions? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because they always say like, oh, but you should know this. I'm like, no, I shouldn't know this. Like, I
I
should
don't have
not be
eyes everywhere.
assuming that there's an obstacle in the way. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
there's a difference between getting over a pebble and getting over a person's foot.
Yeah.
But again, like, why do people think it's a good idea to kick a service animal? Service dog?
I don't know. But on a lighter note, you did remind me of a video that I saw on social media. And it's of this it's of a university, someone graduated from university, I think, or college in the US, I'm not sure. And the service dog receives an honorary diploma for attending all of his owner's university classes, which is just amazing. Now, isn't a guide dog; it's a different kind of service dog. I'm not sure what it is that the service dog does.
There's a bunch of clips where people are going to receive their diplomas or certificates of education, and the guide dogs or the service dogs go with them, which I think is quite cute. Also, what's even cuter is either the university or the college or even like the owner themselves make a little like graduation gown for them and a little graduation cap, which I think is so adorable.
I haven't seen them. That does sound quite cool. Yeah.
On a different note, Joel, have you ever seen a service dog or a guide dog in real life?
I was gonna say, didn't we have this conversation yesterday?
We did, but it's
Yeah.
not part of the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did, I don't think I have. It's mainly just through the media that I've seen them, to be honest.
The only one I've seen in real life, as far as I remember, is actually on my university campus. There is a woman who is blind and she has a guide dog with her 24/7. It's a beautiful black Labrador and he has like a bright, I believe, blue vest. But he is so cute. Obviously, I don't, distract it because I'm like, no. Like, instantly, I'm like, you know what I do actually? If I do see them, whether they're on the same side of the pavement from me or if they're across the road from me, I always like detour. So like, I'm not in the way of the dog and the
Yeah.
person because I'm like, no, don't do that.
I don't want to like block them off or make them have to navigate around
I
me.
don't
Yeah.
want the dog to have to
You're not
think.
avoiding it.
Exactly. I don't want the dog to think like, oh my god, what do I do? How do I get my owner to like get around this situation?
Yeah, because it's bad enough when like two people are going down the same path and you do that weird little dance where you're trying to avoid each other.
Well, I'm sure with someone who can't see, it's a lot worse.
Yeah.
I've actually seen people like walk into people with white canes, like walking into the white cane. And I'm like, surely you can see that they're using a cane to get around. Like just walk around or like
Yeah.
your path.
Yeah,
Like
and they
don't
get angry with a blind person for not seeing that there's a person there. I've seen a lot of that on my For You page recently.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what on earth is going on? Like I've witnessed it actually once when I was still in college. Someone like a man was with a cane. He was going around on his own. Nothing wrong with that, obviously. But like a bunch of like these I'm sure they were teens because they were in school uniform.
Yeah.
And a group of them that no, they didn't think about like, hearting, like the big group of
Yeah.
teens hearting and making way. No, they just walked right into him, and I'm just like, what on earth is going on?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you guys just use some common sense and just part yourself, please?
One I have a couple theories as to why that happens. I think for a lot of people that most people have not run into a blind person, and it seems very common to think that someone is faking a disability for some whatever reason, and add in that like you take the media, the there's a stereotypical the uh the white eyes or the opaque eyes, like there's some kind of a signal to the audience that, hey, this character is blind. But in real life, people are just going to look like completely normal people. And I assume that a lot of people don't even realize that they are blind, even when they're carrying around a white stick. And then there's the other ones who just really don't give a care and just want to behave. Before we go on with Julia's topic,
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back and answer a question you asked earlier, whether or not we've seen service dogs like out in life. I didn't get to answer that question. Yeah, so I've seen a couple service dogs. I used to work at a hardware store, and there was a blind couple who came in, both the husband and the wife, and they had one dog that they used. Her name was Nana, and I saw her several times and got to meet them, really nice people. And well, she did get older and she retired, and then they ended up getting two service dogs, one for each of them. So that was pretty cool. Nice. Also, while I was working at the hardware store, that was nearby a guide dog training center. So, kind of on a regular basis, one of the members there would bring a puppy into the store, and it would have a vest on it that said puppy in training, please do not touch. And it's so adorable seeing this puppy walking around all happy and proud and learning to do its job. Certainly never touch, never interfere, but yeah, they would bring the puppies in just to kind of be around people, be around the natural chaos of the real world.
Yeah. Natural chaos, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There was one other time that came across a service dog, and I was dropping my dog off at doggy daycare so that she could run around and play with other dogs. And there was a gentleman there as well, dropping off his dog. He was blind, and this was his guide dog, and the dog was going to be boarding there overnight. So yeah, so it got to play and just a normal dog boarding.
Mm. Yeah. Julie, you wanted to talk about your theory about why people fake claim.
I don't think it's really a theory. I just want to kind of touch base with it, because what really frustrates me is, like, with the use of social media, for some reason, people always assume someone's faking disability.
Mm.
And I think it's pretty common, I think, now with invisible disabilities. People just assume that someone online is saying that they are autistic or they've got ADHD. I don't know who has, who gave who permission to write in their like comment section saying, "Oh, but you're faking it. You can't have that disability. You don't look like you're disabled."
Mm.
I just want to know, what does someone that is disabled look like? Does it mean a wheelchair? Does it mean a white cane? Does it mean crutches? Does it mean someone who has oh my god, Down syndrome? Does it mean someone who is like looks autistic? Like, what does a disability look like?
Yeah.
General term. Because even, for example, someone who could be battling cancer, for example, people assume someone battling cancer means they've got a bald head, they're frail, and they're pale. Well, that's not, I mean, yes, it's true, but that's not for every case.
Mm.
Like, I remember my granddad, who unfortunately passed away from cancer, but he had chemotherapy, but he still had hair. He still had his big build. Like, yes, he did go down a bit, like in his muscle mass, but technically he didn't look too like his body mass didn't decrease too much.
Mm.
Obviously, it did decrease over time. Like it's noticeable in pictures over a period of time, but it wasn't something shocking. Like right off the bat, he was thin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just makes me wonder. Like, what do people assume different disabilities look like?
Mm.
Because we're all on the spectrum, let's be honest. Like wheelchair users, we're on the spectrum. Some people use it full time. Sometimes people use it when they just don't feel like they can walk long distances, or if their energy levels is so down because of their chronic pain, for example. Or it could be medication they're on. It could be literally anything in the world.
Yeah.
People could use a wheelchair.
I would I don't know exactly what goes on through people's minds that or what they think disabilities look like. Like I think like when it comes to a wheelchair, pretty much the only thing they're picturing is paralysis or something. So
Yeah.
if can stand up to like look at something on a shelf, well then they can't possibly be disabled because well look, they can stand, they can move their legs.
Mm.
And it's got to be really bad with invisible disabilities. I actually I wonder also if it's worse for people who are conventionally attractive, for people who are pretty, especially because
Oh.
at least again in the movies and media, when you see someone who is disabled, they are like all they're how is it? They look like a hag or like a witch or like a they are
Yeah, frail.
Mm.
right. So to see someone who looks like just a normal average person, really, uh, yeah, I've seen so many stories of people who are sitting in their car and well they get the whole "you're too pretty to be disabled" and
Yeah.
well you disabled because you don't look yada yada yada. So um that's my theory. One of them.
But also, I want to know who gives people rights to question disability. I don't know whether this is just a thing that I've kind of seen or if you guys have seen it too, but um, especially in the case of invisible disabilities, people might say, oh, then prove that you're disabled. As in, like, prove to them with, like, medical documentation. And I'm just like, why do you think automatically to ask for physical evidence? And then, even if they see physical evidence, they say, oh, how do I know that you're not faking it? Who has the time and the money to go to, like, I'm sure people assume that if you want to get on like benefits of some sort, you have to go in like fake documentation by like bribing somebody to sign off on it
Yeah.
and look legit. Who has the time and the money for that? Because I can assure you, it takes more time and money to fake a disability than it is to actually be actually disabled.
Yeah.
Like, it drives me crazy. Because you shouldn't be going up to someone and say, oh, prove that you're disabled. You could be in a wheelchair, but no, prove that you're disabled.
There really are people who fake disabilities. There are whether it's for sympathy or social media. One of the ones that I've seen, or so I've heard, gets faked a lot is something like Tourette's,
Yeah.
right? And so the average person can't tell real not, but the assumption always seems to be, well, I don't know if they're faking it, so therefore I believe that you're faking it. Like,
Yeah.
they empathize with the faker before they will empathize with the actual disabled person.
Mm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
mean,
also,
what you say makes sense. Doing it doesn't make sense.
I would agree there.
yeah, that's very true. But like, it's kind of sad though that people like on social media automatically are ready to like attack the faker, which, yes, fair enough. Like, yes, please tell them that it's not right for them to fake. However, that same mindset of how they handle the faker, they will use that same tactic on the actual disabled person. And I feel like they're trying to like test
Yeah.
whether they are disabled or not, which, to be honest, is probably one of the many reasons why so many disabled people just don't have social media because
Mm.
they don't want to be attacked. Whether they are just like doing videos and content to educate, it's only for educational purposes of other people to be like, hey, this disability exists. This is how I handle it because I have it. This is my life story. I don't think it's right for people who don't have a clue about the disability and automatically go into the comment section and say, you're faking it. You can't be actually disabled. You can't actually have this disability.
Yeah.
Why don't you prove that you're disabled? What does proving if you're disabled do exactly? What does that person get out of someone proving their disability? You're not saving the world at all. Like, yes, you can be like, there are a few people that I've seen on social media who are like all for like, yes, equality, like rights for disabled people, being fairly treated, this, that, and the other. But they also miss the mark on attacking people, saying you can't be disabled if you're doing X, Y, and Z. Like, what do they gain from it? I don't understand.
I don't know.
And then also this whole like, oh, I'm helping a disabled person, and oh, I'm such a great human being of in life in general.
There was a video that I'm thinking of, and they parked in a disabled parking spot, but they are obviously physically disabled. She had a van and she had a ramp to be able to walk out. This was a video from Pete Monzingo, and his mother is a little person, and this guy reached into her car window trying to grab her her
Disability parking thing.
the placard thing. Yeah, he
Yeah,
kept trying to grab it from her.
legal documentation, basically.
Yes, like
Whether
why?
it's legal documentation or not, reaching into someone's car to take something that isn't yours.
I can't even imagine. And the thing is, she does look disabled.
That's what I'm always thinking. Like, why would you, like, again, the whole proving thing, some things are just blatantly obvious. Like, a wheelchair is blatantly obvious. A white cane for a blind person is really like a universal sign that you are blind, or a wheelchair is you are physically disabled. Or
Right.
if you're small in stature, is that the right word? Stature?
You're a little person.
Basically, like your physical appearance, like you're smaller, like doesn't that show you that you're disabled?
Mm.
But again,
Yes.
it's crazy to reach into a car like that.
I can't even imagine.
Mm.
There's also a clip that I was talking to Joel about just before you came on, Lexi, is a woman with a car full of children, and she parks in a disabled parking spot, obviously illegally because she has no sign anywhere that it's a disabled car, basically, like, none of those plaques or even a disability sticker on it, because some people do have a sticker as well. She has nothing that indicates that this is a disabled car. And in the caption, she something along the lines of I parked in disability parking spot and I asked my kids to act crippled in order for them to use it. And I sent that to one of my friends, one of my college friends. It made me sick to my stomach. And in the comments section, everyone was like, "Are you insane? Are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Why are you teaching your kids this? Why are you teaching your kids to lie?"
I kind of wonder if that mother who said that and did that is the exact same kind of woman who would attack and question a disabled person.
It's guaranteed, probably, because it comes in pairs. Because once it's convenient for them to use a disability card, even though they're not disabled themselves, no one's allowed to question that person. They're like, "Oh, why are you questioning me? You're not allowed to question me if I'm disabled or not." However, when it's not convenient for them, they're like, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to be that person who's going to try and be a good person and question every person who uses a disability parking spot." Because right next to that in the video, you can tell, like on the side that she parked on the other side of the parking like section, there is bays for families and children. Do you know there's like parking bays that are like to let kids out? It's literally like in the video you can see it, and someone's like, "There's literally parking spots next to it are designed for families with children. Why are you using a disability parking spot for?"
Mm.
Okay, should we do the outro because that's what we're here to do?
Yeah.
So let's a bit out of order, but I wanted to say a couple things before we do the intro and outro. One thing is I want to apologize and clarify something I did. I did it without any thinking. I made a particular hand motion in that I know it is something that can be seen as mocking someone. I want to clarify that I was not mocking a person. I was picturing and imagining media portrayals of disabled people.
Oh, I know what hand gesture you're talking about. Okay.
Apologize that I did do that, and I am sorry. It was not imitate a person. It was to imitate a TV character. So I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm clueless.
No, when we were talking about fake disabilities, she talked about how the media portrays someone who is thin, who is frail, who is pale.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I hope you're not going to use it in my section, but she did this basically.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And there's not an imitation of any person or any disability.
I think that's it for this episode of Ramped Up. We didn't have any one particular topic. We talked a bit about fake claiming. We talked a bit about health insurance and healthcare. But
Service animals.
oh yeah, that was everything. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. As always, it's been a pleasure. We will see you in a couple of weeks. Join us on all of our social media to get more exclusive content and more bonus clips and stuff like that. You'll also be able to stay up to date if you join our Discord server. The link is in the description below. And I hope you give us a follow so that you don't miss another episode. But for now, it's goodbye from me, Joel Sprouse.
Me, Julia Shenko.
And me, Lexi Bushnell.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.